imagine 350, you can imagine it in many ways. 70 times 5, 50 times 7. But 350 also means the amount of carbon we need to lower ourselves down to in our atmosphere.
So in terms of parts per million, where do we want to be, folks?
350!
So there's a lot of folks in Keene who are really involved in environmental issues and have been for a lot of years. A bunch of us who are concerned about leaving a verdant and healthy planet to our kids were talking about this great project that 350.org was doing. We were really inspired. 350.org has done a number of global movements over the past couple of years, but this one's bigger than ever. We have on 350.org at this point over 7,000 events registered in 188 countries, and this is a piece of work that we're just really excited to be a part of in Keene.
I've been involved with 350.org, and before that, Step It Up, so sort of following Bill Kibben's progress through the last few years. And so I was on his mailing list and got an invitation to join this event, and noticed that the Green Sanctuary Committee at the Keene Unitarian Universalist Church was interested also. And I had already signed us up online to do something. We just weren't really sure what it was going to be yet. And then I got contacted by Sarah Harpster from the Transition Keene initiative, and we started talking about opening it up to whenever work parties were going to happen during the day, and having sort of a get together to come together and celebrate, and also just keep the momentum going. And so that's how it sort of started, and beyond that it just exploded with ideas and people volunteering to host parties all over Keene and the surrounding towns. There's a lot of more rural towns around Keene that are sort of stepping in and doing things too.
So I think it's just been maybe 3 weeks ago, a bunch of people got together and had a meeting in an evening. People from a number of different groups, the college and university in Keene, and some other folks that are working on environmental issues. And just a lot of excitement bubbled up. And the result of that is that we have over 15 work parties that have pulled together in just a couple of weeks. It was really amazing. And our region beyond the borders of Keene is also really involved with more than that. So it was really dynamic and pulled together really fast.
We are going to be growing more food locally. This food is going to be going straight to Donna's, which is our cafe on campus here. So the food is going to be going directly there, and so it's going to be shortening our food miles and increasing awareness around gardening and just creating a nice community here.
We both love food, and I think food has been our most positive impact in terms of community, because we're really big on local food. We've been hearing that a lot of people are, there's interest out there to learn how to can and kind of get in touch with the food more and where it's coming from, and just get involved with the food production process. So we think, and at this point I think we've got about maybe 15 people coming, which is great.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, and the community kitchen has opened its doors for us, which is also very nice, because they have a great facility, and the farmers were so willing to bring us their produce, which is great. Everybody's just getting involved, and it's awesome.
It is.
In terms of climate protection, it's a little bit like this, but local food is huge. I mean, so.
Well, that's a great part of what I think 350 is, or 10-10-10 is. It's a lot of little things that people are doing everywhere, which hopefully has a much greater impact. Well, I'm a small business owner here in Keene, and I'm part of a couple organizations. One's the Keene Downtown Group, which is about keeping our local downtown really vibrant and active and with lots of things going on and promoting community. Part of the Keene Music Festival, which is their theme is, or their mission statement is community through music. So we put on events, music events around Keene that try to bring people together. And then involved in a group called Monadnock Buy Local, which teaches people why it's important to spend your money with locally owned businesses, because those locally owned businesses give so much back to the community, and you keep the dollars that you spend at those businesses within your own community. One of the businesses I have is a map of the area, of the Monadnock area, and as I'm going around selling the ads on that map, I'm always behind, I'm in a small shop somewhere, and I'm always behind the local cheerleaders or the local sports team or some charity, and I see that those shop owners are giving so much of their time and their resources back to their community. So those kinds of things are I guess what I decided to get involved with. We both love Keene in this area, and that's part of it too. I think we're both really committed to the place we live in being the place we want to live.
The Green Sanctuary program at the church was certified 2 years ago, and one of its big focus areas is not just individual actions, but concerted community actions. So that fits right in with the 350 program. And this year, for the day of work parties, what we have planned is the planting of a tree in the AIDS garden, which is on the church premises, and construction of a bike rack out of repurposed pallets, and also, although we've had an active composting program for several years, the bins are less aesthetic than they might be. So one of our members is going to be supervising the construction of a staged composting bin system out of repurposed pallets. So we're very excited about these opportunities. There's still a lot of work to do in the church, in the lives of the congregation, and in the community. But we're very enthusiastic about being part of that.
I like to think of this whole ecological footprint issue, because we are in the north using too many resources of the planet, while my focus has always been on countries in Africa especially, but also Haiti and Bangladesh and other countries in Asia where people don't even have the basic necessities. While we are, per capita would need 6 planets Earths to satisfy everyone if we all would be consuming and using as many resources as we do here in the States. So, and I even realized that flying from here to Asia or Africa has such a big carbon footprint to it that became a concern as well. So I'm gradually trying to shift to what can be done in my own backyard, so to speak, and how can I talk to others and work with others to see what we can do in terms of using less.
So Transition Keene is about transitioning our community from oil dependence to local resiliency. And when we're talking about resiliency, we're talking about becoming a more tightly woven community socially and economically. But we're not talking about isolating ourselves from the rest of the world and becoming totally self-sufficient. But it is about depending on our local resources where we can, and really honing in on our quality of life, the life that we share together as a community. And all of this is important because when we face the kind of shocks that we can be facing in the future, we're likely to be facing in the future in terms of climate change, peak oil, and also the strains of a really tightly interwoven global economy, our community will be better able to handle the shocks that can be ahead. So that's part of our goals.
folks in the transition movement not only are looking at climate change, which is huge and an important thing to be dealt with, but there's additional concerns that sort of intersect with climate change, and a big one is peak oil. That we are getting to the point, government reports suggest between now and in about 5 years, that the world is going to have sort of hit the maximum production of oil, and it'll start declining. And so we need to cut down our carbon usage as in fossil fuels, both for climate change reasons, but also it's going to wreak havoc with our economies. Go on any transition website anywhere in the world, there'll be something called the cheerful disclaimer. And this is just a frank statement that we don't know if this will work. All this local organizing to unleash the creativity of citizens to really solve the problems we're addressing. But it seems like our best shot at moving things forward. And we see this kind of work that's represented by 10-10-10 and by the transition movement globally and locally as a grand social experiment about, can we unleash human creativity, the ability to cooperate, the ability to think, to forgive, and to make changes, to really make an important transition to a safer, saner, and sustainable way of life where there's true resiliency. And one of the sort of fundamental things that's said in all these cheerful disclaimers is that if we wait for government alone and we just sit on our hands until government takes care of things, it'll just be too little too late. And if we only respond as individuals, it'll be too little. But if we engage as a community and start solving our problems, it may be just enough, just in time. And the other thing that excites me about this is if we work at the community level and we really take innovation and start acting now, we will probably inspire more creative and robust government action, and at the same time will probably inspire more individual action as well. But I think working at the community level is the sort of the linchpin of, are we really going to successfully be able to transition to a resilient and sustainable world. Some people have said that the transition movement is more like a party than a protest.
We got a bunch of parents, and more are coming. A few apparently had to go to church first, and we are getting a garden ready for the winter. We started taking all the weeds out, and we got compost, 2 big loads from Stonewall that they donated to us, and then we're gonna plant some garlic and spinach, and we're gonna mulch it really well, and whatever we don't finish today we'll do later, and come back in spring.
Just a thought, how addicted are we to fossil fuels? Well, I'll give you an example. Tropicana did a study to find out what's the carbon footprint of a glass of orange juice, because they figured they could sort it out and maybe buy electric delivery trucks and cut their carbon footprint in half. How much fossil fuels to make to get you a glass of orange juice. So they did this very meticulous study. 38% of the fossil fuel input to a glass of orange juice is the ammonia fertilizer to grow the orange. Largest single component. If you don't put the ammonia on the ground for the tree to grow the orange, you don't have an orange, you don't have an orange, you don't have orange juice.
Biochar is an amazing soil amendment. It doesn't work like regular fertilizers. It's persistent in the soil. It binds the nutrients. It creates an amazing microhabitat for all of the microbes, fungi, all those little microorganisms that bring soil to life.
To make this whole concept of sequestering carbon by pyrolyzing biomass, and pyrolyzing is heating it in the absence of oxygen, and it's a exothermic process in that it runs on its own energy. In other words, the volatiles that are coming out of the biomass provide the heat to complete the process.
We're at the biochar workshop, and we have met Doug Clayton and Hugh before, and we're very curious about the whole biochar thing and how it might be used on a local level as well as on a bigger level.
Right, we've always been interested in the carbon problem that's going on in the world today, and this is a positive response to it that creates a better world.
Today we are taking care of the Antioch garden. We're going to be pulling out some of the summer plants that are past and getting ready for some winter seeding and putting in a cold frame for some greens for the fall.
So here at Antioch, we are really focused on reducing our carbon footprint as a school. So our main focus right now is sustainable transportation and making sure that we have these bikes available to our students.
So right now we have about 4 bikes in our fleet, which really isn't that much. So what we're trying to do is get more bikes up and running for students to be able to check out, and hopefully that will reduce the carbon footprint of Antioch.
And the aim of the program is to provide bikes for the Antioch community to do errands or commuting while they're at Antioch, just as a way to reduce our gas emissions and emissions from transportation. And my other aim is to provide education for people in terms of bike maintenance and caring for their bike and really becoming self-sufficient in their bike as a vehicle. So for 10-10-10, a class here at Antioch decided that they wanted to dedicate their time to raising money for green bikes because we don't have a budget now. And the money is to hope to use to make the bikes that we have safer and outfitted for commuting. We hope to raise $1,010, and I think we almost reached our goal. So
yeah, today we are organizing 3 bike workshops. The first one is a safety bike workshop that's going from 12:30 to 1:15, and it's basically just regular bike safety, how to be safe around town, around cars, the right gear, the right setup for your bike so that you can be the safest you can when you're riding around. Then we also have a commuter skills workshop, which is going to help teach people how to commute in their area, how to ride near cars and be aware of everything around them. That's going from 1:30 to 2:15. And then the last workshop we have is a repair workshop. That's going from 2:30 to 4:30. So if you have issues with your bike, then we are going to be able to teach people how to fix them. We're not fixing them for people. We're giving people the skills to fix their bikes themselves, which is really important.
We were really excited in the Transition Keene group to see this 10-10-10 idea because it dovetails perfectly into the transition idea where you're unleashing the collective genius of whatever group of people that you have working with you on this. So these movements really evolve organically. Whatever interests, whatever work that you get involved in, it kind of comes out of that group of people and what their expertise is and what their passions are. And that's the same thing with this this idea of 10-10-10. It's just do a project that makes sense for you and your community. After Sunday, October 10th, 2010, we hope that in our community this energy keeps flowing, that people keep staying involved, and we can really see the people who got excited about this getting involved in things like it might be reskilling workshops or awareness raising events, or going out to the community and getting hands-on work, building more community gardens and putting up solar panels and getting involved in transportation issues. So we really hope to see this as just the beginning of a lot of projects to come.
One of the things that I love about Keene is there's so many active citizens who are already doing great things, but we're really going to have to deal with switching to a different kinds of energy, safe and renewable energy sources. We're probably looking at having to figure out as a community how to preserve the best and the heart and soul of our community, but using lower energy. And we're going to have to think about how to relocalize the economies, because the global economy is in many ways unjust and is in many ways unstable, and it's going to be really shaken up and stressed by both climate change and peak oil.
So the thing that's really great about transition is that it really incorporates the need for us to do concrete actions in the world, to minimize our driving, to eat in different ways, to connect with one another in our communities, but it also acknowledges that we have an internal life that is really a good barometer for how we are in the world and how we can act in the world, and is also a source of great creativity and helps us connect with one another, which is really going to be critical in the coming years, to learn how to form tight communities that can really, so we can really rely on one another as we create healthier lives.
Well, I like to live in a world where I can trust what I eat, and I can feel good that it's a cycle and it's sustainable and it makes all kinds of sense, and that's what biochar seems to me to be the basic element of that. So that's why we drove 2 hours to get to this event.
I want to live in a world where there are lots of bikes and lots of gardens, and we're able to understand our connection with the earth and with each other, and really dig deep and live within our communities and eat from our own land.
Yes, I want to be an inventor. And at school we had these things saying about why I like being 10 and on future occupation. I would like to be and I said I would like to be an engineer. I would like to be an engineer because I could make everybody in the world eco-friendly and fit. In my imagination of the future, I'm imagining there'll be nice, long, branching areas where you can just walk and you'll meet with your neighbors, say hi, just have fun. And I'm thinking maybe there'll be even special tunnels to climb around in. And I want to be an engineer. I've got some pretty good ideas in this noggin. They're all in there. I'm thinking maybe the world may seem a lot like this one on the outside, but on the inside it'll be so intricately better. I believe that we can make the future better by just doing these little changes, just little things that you can make into habits and slowly become bigger and better until you're an eco-friendly superhero.
Just to see you, to sing this little song. I play it on my little banjo, I'll play it all night long. The cradle is here, the cradle, rock the cradle.